I want to talk about two other GOATs. We got some of the biggest names in the history of our league, or potential history of our league, history of our sport. Zlatan Ibrahimovic on his way out, and Messi potentially on his way in. Which one's a bigger story? Is it Zlatan finishing up and hanging up his boots and being a part of MLS, or is it the potential of Messi joining this league? Dax, what do you got?
Well, it's clear that the bigger story is Messi coming to the league. Transcendent, transformational, landmark moment. It's to me, it's everything that the Beckham signing is, and then like 10 times more. Because for all the great things that David did for the league, for as big of a name as he was, we all know that it was done for mainly commercial reasons. Messi has the commercial appeal of a David Beckham, and then on the field, he is exponentially going to have a bigger impact. And look, David was fantastic.
I don't know about that either.
Look, David was great, right? Like after his first season or two, where I think he was dealing with some injuries, look, the guy won championships, and that's what you want. And he was on the field, and he was important. I'm not going to come out and say that Messi's going to sit here and win as many MLS Cups as David, because he's coming at a little bit of an older age, and he's going to a team that I think is in significantly worse shape than the Galaxy teams that David went to were. Although, I don't know, you guys weren't great whenever David first got there, but
we were awful. Awful.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe it is similar. But I tell you one thing, Messi going to Miami, it's going to be a zoo. It's going to be a circus. But I just think that Messi coming off of the career that he had in Europe and he's 6 months removed from winning the World Cup with Argentina, where he was like a massive part of their success. I just don't think there's any way you can quantify how important that will be for MLS. And I think even bigger than Cristiano, bigger than any of these guys that they could have signed in the last 4 or 5 years, Messi, he's the one. He's the greatest player of all time that these eyes have ever seen, that I've ever seen. So just to be able to say that he joined our league at a time where, hopefully he does join, and hopefully August 30th down in Miami, Nashville SC, Inter Miami. Hopefully he'll get the chance to play against him. Look, Zlatan's a huge story. I think my favorite Zlatan moment was when he got subbed into El Trafico and scored that goal and just absolutely lit MLS and LA on fire. I mean, that was unbelievable. I don't think any player in the history of a debut will ever have a debut like that. It's just insane what he was able to accomplish in MLS. But he didn't have team success. And so, look, I'll always remember Zlatan for, his quotes and some special goals he scored. And obviously he was supremely successful over in Europe, but wasn't successful in MLS from a team perspective. But you're losing one of the biggest personalities this game has ever seen. Something tells me that he's not going to be too far away from the game, though. I think he'll either be an actor, or he'll buy a club somewhere and just continue to have the antics that he's always had. But the answer is Messi.
Gordo, you have an interesting connection here. You obviously saw Beckham and the hoopla and the circus that came with it. Is it comparable, or does it dwarf it?
I think it's, man, I think that I could take the other side. I agree with everything that Dax said. I think this is, it's similar in some ways, and it's bigger in some ways, but in some ways it's not. Because I will say that I got a firsthand point of view that saw David Beckham transcend an entire league. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the only difference, because this league is going to succeed with or without Messi. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if this league is where it is today. Actually, I know it's not where it is today without Beckham. Okay, and he put us all on the map. He made us relevant. He gained respect for us as players. For just him doing it, and he pushed us 10 years ahead in an instant. And I'm not sure that Messi can do that. I think that everybody, their heart is saying that this is cool for everyone. This is cool for Dax, who's going to play next to him. Like, that's freaking awesome. And we've probably done that in exhibitions, but we all have probably done that in exhibitions. But This is huge for the league. It's awesome. For him to come over here is going to be cool. I wherever he goes, I'm going to go watch him play. I'm going to get a ticket. I'm going to go watch him. So that's huge. But just back to my point, I think that the leagues were in different places, and I think that David did more for the league than Messi will do when he comes here, because I think this is kind of choppy water, because what I saw with David is some American players and American fans, we all know the brilliance that he's had and the respect that he's bringing. But I think this is very fragile, because a lot of random fans of soccer, they will come to see Messi be Messi 10 years ago. And he's not going to be Messi 10 years ago. And I'm interested to see how he impacts Miami, because he could hurt Miami. He could hurt their squad, because he's not going to track around, and he's used to having a lot of good players around him that doing the work. So unless they structure that team, they have to be very smart and get guys around him that are going to do the work, and then it'll be fine. He's going to have his moments of brilliance. He will, no matter what. But if they do it poorly and they put a lot of other guys that aren't going to do the work around him, it's going to be a disaster. Okay, and they had to figure that out with Bex, and they ended up getting it right. Bruce got it right, and they won a couple championships, and he sailed off into the sunset. But if they don't do it right, then this could be like a flash in the pan, and be like, okay, he's here, okay, he's gone. They're not any good. They suck, right? So
how old was Bex when he came over? Was he 32? 31?
I would
33?
say he's 32 or 33. Yeah, something around there. So he's older than Bex was.
Yeah.
So that's all I'll say about that.
I think I'm going to straddle the fence on this one, but I somewhat agree.
Yeah.
I somewhat agree with Dax here. I think that there was a lot more to it than just a commercial interest for David Beckham. I think that David Beckham is everything that you characterized him as, Gordo. And obviously, you were in the locker with him often. For years. And I think that there probably was there's more than just a bit of that when he first came over, the money behind it, the decision and all of that. But he was also a competitor. I mean, he was a ruthless competitor too. And he was a ruthless competitor on the field. And I think that the media and the circus that we saw as a league, and just the transformational change that needed to happen from all of our expectations, because no American player had ever seen anything like it. And Landon didn't deal with it well, and the Galaxy didn't deal with it well, because they couldn't. They had never seen it before. And David, to his credit, I think handled it like the true British gentleman that he is. And he is every bit of that. So I think, for him to bring championships to this league, and for him to change the face of this league, I don't know how significant Messi is going to be able to do that. But let's be honest, Messi's the greatest player of all time ever in the history of the game. And for him to walk on a field is transformational. And I think that the other piece of this is, we as a country, we as a league, a Major League Soccer, I think David brought a lot of different eyeballs to this league, into this country. Messi's going to bring a whole different demographic to what the interest level is in America. Sure. All of South America. It raises the level of credibility at minimum, gets people talking shit about the league at minimum. And that's massive for where we're headed in this league. So I think that Messi has the ability to trump what David did, but David is also linked to this too. Like, think about that. David is the one bringing Messi here to this country. David is probably single-handedly the guy that is doing that. And that's something that he also will get credit for. So
listen, I got something, Dan. I agree with you. The biggest way that this will impact MLS, if it does happen, which I think it will, is with Apple TV. And with the eyeballs and the numbers that are going to skyrocket with that Apple TV deal, with subscriptions, people tuning in from all over the world to see him play, that is going to change it. Because listen, MLS does a pretty good job of selling out stadiums. I would say that you go around probably, I think, to
Gordo's point, right?
Probably more than 50.
It's a successful league right now.
More than 50-60% of the league right now is selling their stadiums out. The atmospheres, the in-game experience for the supporter and the fan is very good. There's only a few clubs you can point to and say, well, that's crap. That's crap. So not only is
we
Messi,
did that last episode.
Yeah. Not only is Messi going to come in to any stadium he goes to and make it not only absurd ticket prices, but make it a sellout every game. Those numbers for the Apple subscription are going to skyrocket because you're going to have a lot of people that want to watch him play.
Yeah.
And so for me, that's where you see the biggest value in terms of pushing MLS forward. Because again, we've already talked about the partnership with Apple. The more eyeballs that are on it, the more money they're going to pump into their product and the more money they're going to pump into the league to continue to have it grow. So I'm excited to see where it goes, man. And one other point of note about David, my utmost respect for him because we know Messi, this guy will not be flying commercial. There are charter flights now. David flying obviously first class, but commercial flights everywhere was just
that's a laugh.
So beautiful. I mean,
it's unbelievable.
You could never Beckham flied commercial so Messi can fly charter in MLS. All right.
Unbelievable. I mean, it really is unbelievable. I think that Messi has the ability to be just as successful because have you ever heard a bad word about Messi ever?
Nope.
No,
never. Not one of his teammates.
And you always hear he's a very good teammate.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like every one of his teammates says, "Oh man, I loved playing with Messi." Yeah. And it's not like he does a ton of work on the field. So if he's everybody is saying that about him, I can't see him acting any different. The only thing that I'm somewhat concerned about is he's playing in a pop-up stadium in Miami. Like they still don't have a real venue.
I don't know if his legs will last long enough to where they open like a full-time stadium.
That's what I'm saying. That's probably never going to get done, which is a huge airball on Miami's part, but it will still be transcendental. I think this brings us to an interesting topic because we got Zlatan in the conversation. Messi's can't be there, but I think he, clearly vaults to the top of the leaderboard or at least close if he ultimately ends up signing for the league. But the Mount Rushmore of designated players in this league, and we've mentioned a handful of them. I think we did this before with the Journeymen where we learned a little bit, right, in not giving Dax the ability to run through the best list before we move on to Gordo. So we're going to change the parameters a little bit, and everybody will have one vote, and we'll go through it and see what we come up with. I'll give the two of you the top billing in 1 and 2, and I think the only way to do it is I'm thinking of a number between 1 and 10. So closest to the number gets it.
Dax is going to take 6 and I'll take 9. So which one is it?
That's it.
Is that it?
That's it. Those are the
numbers. 100%.
Come on. Number's 3, guys. Dax, you're up first.
I love it. Oh man, I get first pick on greatest so just to be clear for everyone, we're doing one Mount Rushmore where we all get one choice, or we're doing our own Mount Rushmores.
I think we should go with our own Mount Rushmores. You get your own Mount Rushmore.
Gordo gets his own Mount Rushmore. And
if
pick somebody twice.
And he can't reuse any guys I take.
That's what I'm saying. No. If the draft pick gets taken off the board, you cannot draft him again.
This is like fantasy football where you love the guy you're behind because he's not going to pick the right guy. This is perfect I'm at.
Look, I'm going, in my opinion, the best designated player in MLS history, Robbie Keane.
Dang. Wow, that's
a good start. Probably the most successful of all time, right? For me, actually, for you, Dax, why are you going Robbie Keane?
So Robbie Keane, for me, he came here and he wasn't the biggest name signing that you could ever have, but in terms of his impact on the field, I don't think that the Galaxy could have expected any more from him. Multiple championships.
They couldn't have gotten any more from him.
Multiple championships, multiple goals, multiple assists, highlight reel package almost every single time he stepped on the field. Like when I sign a designated player, like that's what I'm looking for. He was durable. He was not injured that often. He was on the field. He was engaged. Sometimes, obviously, he was extremely moody and pissed off about certain things. I think there was a contract dispute at one point. Mm-hmm. He did the business. And for probably a bargain rate. I don't know if this guy ever made more than $3-4 million in the league, and he was probably worth double that. So, Look, anytime you go sign a DP, you should point to Robbie Keane as the impact of what you want on the field.
Yeah, for me, he changed the complexion of who a designated player was, because obviously Beckham came in first, and Beckham is in a different class of his own. But Robbie was still performing at an extremely high level, and he wasn't that guy that was a superstar. So it redefined what it meant to be a designated player in this league, because there was still we're the retirement league of where the superstars come because of the Cosmos and all the history that predated MLS. So he changed the complexion. I think that's a fair pick, and I like it. I like Robbie going number 1. Gordo.
All right. This is a curveball, okay? Because you're all expecting me to say Beckham or Landon, which I want them on my Rushmore, but I'm going somewhere else just so I can, be a little
different,
less obvious. I'm going Sebastian Giovinco.
Yeah, real far off the curve, pal.
That's a great pick. I can't believe this guy took Giovinco.
Listen, I'm not sure. I am not sure there was a tougher guy to guard, and I wasn't a defender.
Then you didn't guard him once.
I didn't guard him once. And listen,
you just had to listen to the whiners like me complain about how good he was.
Exactly. But I'm not. I mean, both feet highlight. I mean, everything that Dak said about Robbie. Right. He was both feet. He's scoring all the time. One of the best free kick takers I've ever seen, and he was doing it right and left foot. He was banging goals. The best, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, and he got Toronto over the hump and got them their first championship. And what a fantastic team that was. And he was the maestro. And so I don't think I got to say any more about him unless you guys got a personal story about him. But like he was the deal, dude. He was the deal for
the Atomic Ant. The only personal story I have about him was trying to mark him was near impossible. He could go right. He could go left. He was so quick. His first step was unbelievable, which is pretty incredible because his legs were only 2.5 feet long. But he was so freaking good at literally every aspect of the game. And it was almost unfathomable how you were supposed to approach him as a defender, because he could do anything that he wanted. And he could also do anything that he wanted with the ball, and he could strike from anywhere on the field. So he could be the best player that I've ever lined up against.
Yeah.
As an attacking player. He was unbelievable.
So good.
It's an MLS game. It's a really good choice, Gordo. I'm really proud of you. I'm proud of you for not being a homer. I'm proud of you for not taking the obvious choices.
Thank you.
Okay, well here I'll take the obvious choice because it's not you're not picked there, Dex.
Right.
I'm going Bex. I'll put him on the leaderboard. That's easy. And I already waxed poetic about what he's done for this league, and I don't think that there's not a close second in my opinion. He invented the rule of the designated player. So they created it for him, and he lived up to the billing, and also faced the adversity of having to climb the mountain as well. He joined a really bad team with the Galaxy. He joined a roster that was in flux with a club that I think needed to redefine itself in how they approached players and how they set their standards, and really kind of recreated what this league was. And it was all for David Beckham, and David Beckham handled it incredibly well. So that's an easy number 1 for me. Dax, who's your number 2?
Gordo has inspired me to go off the beaten path.
Oh, here we go. We're going off the grid. I like it.
If I was going strictly based off of trophies and I guess guys who made the biggest difference in MLS, I would pick Landon here, but I'm not going to do that because I know Landon will be picked eventually. Yeah. I'm picking
Landon's getting the shaft.
Guillermo Barros Schelotto.
Oh,
and
interesting.
I'm picking him because
what a great pick.
He was one of the most underrated players in MLS history. He went to a small market club, which no disrespect at all thrown at Columbus there, but it's a fact. This guy decided to sign with a team in Columbus, Ohio, and he completely dominated the league for the amount of time that he was here. And he brought an MLS Cup to Columbus, which I know they had won previously in the past, but he made that team tick. He made them relevant. Every time he stepped on the field, you knew he was going to make a difference. So in terms of a designated player, kind of what we talked about, I know that designated players are typically attacking players, strikers, or number 10s. I don't think that you could find a better number 10 to go out and sign. That was on, and he was in the latter stages of his career as well. But in terms of being a guy who changed a team, made a team constantly better, and won a trophy, won MLS Cup. I think Guillermo Barros Schelotto is one of the best DPs in MLS history.
It's
What a great pick.
I can't hate on it. He definitely should not be ranked this high, and I'm going to disagree with you there. But
he's on a Mount Rushmore. He's on a Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, he's your number 2 pick on a Mount Rushmore. But I have a little bit of a problem with that. But
well, I would take Landon if I was being boring.
Well, he's still available to you.
Sure. But I told you I wanted to go off the grid. I could have probably taken Schelotto 3rd or 4th, but
yeah, that's good. You're off the grid. Good, well done. Find your way back.
You're trying to one up me and you failed. See, this is why I like it.
Now we know what Gordo's going to do, because if I took Landon, Gordo would have complained.
No.
Gordo stayed off the grid, dude. He wandered off the path early, and he don't know how to put one foot in front of the other. All right, Gordo, what do you got?
Nicolas Lodero.
What are you guys talking about?
I love it,
dude.
Oh my god,
I love it. That's a fantastic pick.
Is it?
Listen, yes, it is. I mean, dude, who's had? I mean, they've had arguably the best run at a dynasty in MLS history. Have they not? I mean, they've been, they've won. They're the ones that, slayed the dragon with the Champions League. They've won multiple championships, and he is the guy behind it all. He never stops moving. He makes his teammates better. And talk about somebody that's going to control the game, right? And he does it silently. That's the only reason you don't think of him. But he is one of the best players I've ever seen. As every player, every kid that is in the midfield should watch his movement and the way that he moves.
Pick.
So I mean, that's all I'm going to say.
My criteria is different than your criteria. Your criteria is different than Garg's. Garg's, he just wants a pretty face and a big name. That's all he cares about. Pretty face.
Just because I took Beckham first.
He does.
You want a big name and a pretty face.
Here we go. All right, that's my pick.
Gordon, I actually like the pick. I can't hate on the pick. That's Lodero. You're probably right. It brings up a good.
You can't hate on any pick. No one in the Mount Rushmores you can hate on.
Well, I don't know about that. We'll see how far down the path we get. The Lodero, though, it does bring up a question. Do the Sounders have the longer lasting legacy with the run that they went on, or does the Galaxy?
I mean, the Sounders are still going. It's not over for them yet, and it's clear that the Galaxy are done. I mean, Galaxy went from. I mean, they were in the final 09. I think they won the Supporters Shield 2010 and then won 11 and 12. That's 4 phenomenal years, right? And then they won in 14 as well. And 13 was so that's a 6-year run. I mean, those two for me, and I'm not totally versed on what DC did back in the day. They had a good run with Echeverri, Moreno, and all those guys, but I mean, those two are the front runners for me.
Yeah. Yeah, DC kind of set the table early on.
And New England just didn't win the trophy.
All right, come on, guys.
Toronto
go,
probably
man.
in that mix.
Finish out your LA Galaxy Mount Rushmore with Landon. Let's go.
No. I'll leave. I'm going to leave Landon off too. Because you guys inspired me to go off the grid here.
Oh, wow.
Hey,
Shocker.
look at him now. He's missing out on the party.
Yeah. So
the pants party.
But my pick's better than your two. Chris Wondolowski is.
Oh, injected straight into my veins.
And I didn't pick him because he didn't choose Sneaky Fox, by the way. Screw him.
I know that hurts Gordo, that pick.
It's for me, it's an obvious one because
you don't even have to explain it.
I mean, he is our everyman, and he did more with what he had than anybody else in the history of this league. And for him to get to the heights of the top of the leaderboard in goal scoring, and also win championships, and also wear an armband, and also be a developmental roster slot player playing in Sunday League, D-League games, the stuff that man went through and saw all of it, and still is one of like the happiest, fiercest competitors I've ever been around. He has my utmost respect for forever. And I think
that's a great pick.
He's in my top 4.
All
so
right, well,
Wando it is. Dax.
Do you know why I'm smiling and why I'm happy right now?
Because no one stole your pick yet?
I just bullied both of you into not picking Langdon. So now I got Langdon with my third pick on my Mount Rushmore. Are you kidding me?
That's a steal. That's a steal.
Hey, that is absolutely incredible that you
That
guys
is pretty
allowed me
epic.
to, that
Well
you guys
played.
allowed me to do that. I got Langdon. I don't need to explain why. I already explained why. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Gordo.
Well, you stole my pick, and that's the steal of the draft. I'm gonna go Higuain. Federico.
Okay.
I think that's the one. I thought he was fantastic in MLS. I thought he was fantastic in MLS. He did similar things. I'm not sure as good, but I mean, I think he was a fantastic DP. He was tough to play against. He was scoring goals. They won championships. He was a good player. He was classy. So I thought he was great for the league, and that's why I'm taking him.
Okay.
I love it, Gordo. You're following in my footsteps now that I followed in your footsteps.
Yeah, that's right. We're inspiring each other.
I'm going Joseph Martinez. And Joseph Martinez, for me, also in a similar way, reset the standard of what a designated player should be able to do and the age that he could do it at. And
Dan, I've got one for you. Do you think he's more important than Almiron?
I do. And it's a tough one because I actually think Almiron is a better player. But in this case, it couldn't do. They're 1A, 1B, and I think both arguments are solid on either side of this. And I've had this conversation plenty of times. I covered Atlanta for a number of years while they were winning championships and being as incredible as they were, and their partnership was arguably the best partnership in the history of the league. Almiron, I think this is going to be a stretch here, but I think he can be replicated. He was incredible, but I think that you can find another Almiron. I think, they have them in the league. Almada is not Almiron, but he's equally as dynamic. Joseph Martinez we all talk about this. Goal scorers are impossible to find. And the rate and the guarantee that he was scoring at was something to behold. I mean, it was incredible. And the goals that he was scoring were absolutely incredible. Miguel Almiron, absolutely electric on the field and was fun to watch and a really, really, really special player. But Joseph Martinez he was the king. He was the king of Atlanta. He was the king of this league. He redefined it. So Joseph Martinez is my guy.
I am closing out my Mount Rushmore with a little bit of a curveball, as Gordo would say. But I think that this guy, so I didn't want to be a homer. I didn't want to pick Thierry. I didn't want to pick Basti. I could have easily put them on the Mount Rushmore in terms of their class, in terms of what they won on the world stage, and in terms of just how good of people they are. But I'm not going in that direction. I'm going with a guy who I think was not necessarily Beckham before Beckham came to the league, but he was essentially the David Beckham for one country. And he brought so much electricity to one city and to MLS for the time that he was here. Cuauhtémoc Blanco was incredible. And he didn't win anything. All right, I know I'm kind of, I'm going away
I looked
from,
at him. I looked at his name and I passed it.
I think that this guy, when he was in MLS, he brought so much character and so much class and so much fun. Because, at the end of the day, if a DP, if he's going to do the business for you on the field and help you win a championship, all right, great. That ticks one box. But if he's going to bring fans and bring excitement and have people talking about the league and bring a whole new set of eyeballs to your product, which he did with the entire Mexican community, and he made Chicago Fire relevant when they weren't relevant for a long time. Okay? And for me, that is, if a DP is not going to win championships like a Robbie Keane or a Landon, that's got to be the second thing that comes into place with a DP signing. Blanco did that. He was incredible to play against, incredible to watch. And I think there was such an electricity. Being a former Chicago Fire player, watching how Toyota Park or Bridgeview, whatever you want to call it, how fun it looked to play there when he was there, that for me is a very valuable aspect of a designated player. So he rounds out my my Mount Rushmore.
All right. I like it. I think it's a solid pick. Strong pick. It was on my list of considerations. Didn't make my Rushmore, but consider it.
Same.
It's because he made mine because you guys let Landon fall to me for my third pick. So,
this is tough to round it out because there's so many names that you're looking at that deserve a shout out, right? Like, I know Kobe Jones was not a DP, but if he was, I would probably put him on my Rushmore because I'm not sure he was the guy before all the guys, right? And I'm not sure that this league would have survived without Kobe. He was the face. And so I would have put him in if he was on the DP list, but he was before his time. I'm so torn by this pick. I'm going to give just somebody that I have familiarity with. I want to pick like Obafemi Martins. I thought he was great. But I'm going to go with Kyle Beckerman. I'm going to put him on my Mount Rushmore. Wow. Just because I don't want the Dax McCartys and the Kyle Beckermans to go overlooked just because of these other names that come into our league. I think that the Iron Man, the amount of games and the amount that he did for one team and for American soccer and all the other things that he did, and he was the face of a good squad that won a championship, and he went from the bottom, right? Same as Dax. He took it straight from the bottom, went all the way, and had to earn it every step of the way. And so I'm going to put Bex on my Mount Rushmore. I'll be proud of that.
Was KB a designated player?
He was.
Well, he was at the latter point of his career, and he earned that. And that was super cool to see. Went from Project 40. And he just worked his way up. And that, Gordo, that's, man, you're really pulling at the heartstrings here, buddy, because he did, and he earned every penny that he ever won, and he was a part of it. To me, that Real Salt Lake team that won in 2009, they should have won more. They could have been a dynasty. That's how
they could have if the Galaxy weren't there.
Sure,
Champions League final. Could
have been the first team to win the CONCACAF Champions League. Yeah. I think they should have won the CONCACAF Champions League. I mean, they were such a good team, and KB was such a big part of that. And I love you giving love to sixes. Good for you.
I have a lot of sixes on my squad, dude. That shows you a lot. It's the heartbeat of the team, man.
Gargs, you got a tough choice with your last pick.
I do have a tough choice with my last pick because for me, Thierry Henry is the obvious choice. He's probably the best player ever to play in the league. But I'm not going to take him, and I'm not going to take him because he didn't really win. He didn't do anything. So I'm going with D-Row, and Dwayne De Rosario is my pick. And Dwayne De Rosario, in a lot of ways, is probably the most controversial pick here. Could potentially be.
For a guy throwing stones at some of our picks,
Yeah, agreed. And that's what I do. But here's why. D-Row is similar to what we've talked about in terms of, I think, a really good representation of what this league is built on and what this league is in some ways all about. A guy that worked his way through MLS 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, and was successful every step of the way and dealt with it every step of the way, and also continued to push the narrative for players like yourself, Dax, that are still playing, that are still making a great wage, that are doing things and performing, and making sure that American players that aren't Thierry Henry still have an excellent place to play. And to be fair, doing it for Canada and for Canadians. And what Dwayne De Rosario did for those Canadian players to open those doors in Toronto, in TFC, and now Vancouver, and Alphonso Davies, and just the amount that he took on. And then, oh, by the way, the amount of championships that he won was pretty impressive.
He did the business on the field, and he's got the greatest free kick in MLS history.
And he probably has arguably the greatest celebration in Major League Soccer's history. And that was his own. And this is before, like, to be fair, who the hell is Dwayne De Rosario? Nobody knew who the hell Dwayne De Rosario was. And at the end, and now we're talking about him being on a deserved spot on a Mount Rushmore. And so that concludes my four: David Beckham, Chris Wondolowski, Joseph Martinez, and Dwayne De Rosario. I think I clearly won this.
I was going to say, congrats on the third best Mount Rushmore on this pod. Yep. We'll put it to a vote.
Well, yeah, we'll let the viewers decide, because I think you guys are clear losers here. Dax, just to recap: Robbie Keane, Guillermo Barros Schelotto, Landon Donovan, and Cuauhtemoc Blanco, strong.
Just
Gordo
so
coming in dead last.
He's the best.
Sebastian Giovinco, Nico Ladero, Higuain, who you couldn't pronounce his name, and Kyle Beckerman.
And he didn't know which Higuain he was saying. But
I
he got it right at the end.
50% chance. Hey, by the way, De Rosario was lighting it up in the 7v7, by the way. Good to see.
Was he really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
dude.
He still got it, dude.
That's awesome. All right. So listen, that concludes it. Special episode. We talked a lot about a lot of really cool things. Appreciate you tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next one.